Welcome to Diaries of a Data Scientist, our podcast in which we share about what's important to break into data science, provide valuable insights also for senior data scientists, and invite interesting guests from different data science areas. We're 𝐻𝐸 and Kate. We're both data scientists and mentors working in industry, and we are sharing here our thoughts and experiences. Let's go. Welcome everyone to our new episode of Diaries of a Data Scientist. This is already our 10th episode. Kate, can you believe it?
No, I think that we need to have a Prosecco today, honestly.
Yes, like to celebrate a little bit. And we're so happy that you're listening in or viewing in on YouTube, maybe also to celebrate together with us. Today, we're going to finish the part where we explain to you how to nail the data science interview so you can score your dream job or your entry position after studying. And today we're going to talk mainly about the processes and the actions that you can take during the interview process, as well as some of the activities that you should care about continuously. So like wherever you are in the application process, you can perform these steps as well. And yeah, really excited for the second part today, and let's get right into it. So imagine you have the application done, you were invited to maybe one of the first interviews, maybe the candidate company is also asking you to perform some tests before. So let's imagine you've survived all of these steps and now you're invited to your first interview. So one thing that you should really highlight as part of your side of the interview is to demonstrate business acumen. Basically saying like you have not just done your theory part and your study part well, but that you also understand the business side of things. And there are several things that you can do to do so, but it's mainly not just talking about, I think, the technologies, Kate, right? So not just, you know, listing framework after framework, but also really highlighting what are the advantages for the business, when should you apply what, maybe also what kind of algorithms are, I don't know, more explainable, more transparent. This is also something which is really important to companies nowadays, and really being able also to communicate how data science can translate into business value. What else would you suggest, Kate, regarding demonstrating business acumen?
Yeah, what I wanted just to say about that part is that I guess for freshers in the data science field, I think that it's quite a challenging part because if you remember yourself being in the university, you've been taught, you know, mathematics, statistics, computer science, like all of those technical parts, but you did not have any business related courses. And that is why nobody really told you how to look at the technical problem from the business side. And that is why I guess it is like pretty important skill to really understand how those algorithms can be transferred to the business advantages, how you can help business by applying them. So, and this is the part what I want to say, that please put in your portfolio every single machine learning that you have ever done. Maybe it was in the courses, as we have mentioned that in the previous episode, or in different hackathons that you have been registered into. So put in your CV all of those machine learning stuff and try to explain for the business from the business side how it benefit them.
Oh, absolutely. And you've mentioned the data science portfolio. So this is something that we've introduced in part one of this topic, right? So as you said, so also there it's important if you are, you know, going through a use case, going through like a solution, to really treat this end to end, and also explain like the points of, you know, what is the data generation process, which often then would relate back to the business side of things. So how's that data actually being generated as part of a business situation or as part of a business problem? And as you said, so for me, also from an interviewer side, this really makes a difference, like comparing how different candidates behave in interviews, and also seeing, you know, are they only like competent from the technical side of things, or are they really managing to also, you know, bridging the gap between the technical side and business side? And
Yeah.
that's something that you can train, and that is something you can prepare for. And again,
Mm-hmm.
here also I think internships and working student positions and any kind of work experience that you can get can help you to prepare for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yasmin, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As usual. So what do you think, let's say that you have the resume like looking through, and you see that a lot of machine learning algorithms, like a lot of data science techniques. Do you feel that it's going to be really, really beneficial to understand what is going behind those machine learning algorithms and being able to explain them on the interview if needed?
Absolutely. So imagine, so this can be a nightmare situation. Imagine you've like prepared very well for the interview, and then you're sitting in the interview and someone is asking you, okay, you would apply a decision tree here. So please try to, note down on a piece of paper, how do decision trees work? How are they splitted? How they split the data? What are different splitting criterions and so on? And then, if you then only have to start to think about it and you're like, you need some time to really come up with it, this is maybe not giving off the best look, because as we discussed, right, these are really the basics, and it's not enough to be able to write a line in Python and be able to apply it. You should be able to understand it first way, and then also to be able to explain how it works. And I would definitely say, yes, this is for me one of the cores. Understanding of algorithms, and for me that also then translate to being able to explain the way through them. Yeah, and this can also be sometimes I feel it quite sad that in some of these boot camps and learning material you can find online, they don't really go into the depth there. I was quite happy at my university, at my data science master. We had great professors, and they really took us through line by line, and we had to also be able to explain that as part of exams and projects and presentations. So I was very glad for that preparation.
So it is just not enough to know how to call decision tree function, but it's also really important to be able to understand why this is working like that and why it produces that kind of results.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the algorithmic part. But what you can also be prepared for is in some interviews, in some data science interviews, you will be asked to also explain a certain maybe prior business cases from the like what was the outgoing situation. So basically, what was the situation at the beginning? How did you take certain decisions? So really to also explain your way through one of these cases from beginning to end. There are certain concepts also which can help. I think one of them is called STAR concept. You can look into that can help you basically to structure your way through discussing such a use case, and also covering the parts of what have you learned out of it. And it's also fully okay. So maybe not to create this like image of you need to be perfect. That's not it. You can make mistakes also as part of the business cases, but it's important that you can then explain how have you learned from these mistakes, and what was your like kind of what did you take out of that that errors, such that you can now do it differently. And I think that's even more powerful than just giving off this image of perfectionism, because mistakes will happen. So I'd rather know that you know how to learn from them.
Handle that. Yeah, you have just, I guess, highlighted the perfect statement right now. This is something that my mentees got all the time. Like, wow, I could not really imagine that this is going to be that way. Because what I see all the time on the interviews is that was my personal experience, that in one of the interviews, you're sitting in there talking with the whole team of data scientists, and they will give you, pretty hard and tough task that is not on your CV list. So, which means that perhaps you have never worked with that field and with those algorithms. And this is the first part. And the second part is that probably and most likely the whole data science department cannot solve that case already for like a century, like in the parentheses, definitely. And they will give you this case on the interview, and they would kind of observe how you would behave yourself. So this is something that I all the time say to my mentee, like, let me know, Yasmin, if you agree with that or not. So even if you have this kind of situation, it is really important to understand that they are interested in the way, not to see the perfect solution and the correct number in the end, but they're interested to understand how you would approach the task, to which website you're going to navigate yourself in order to find an answer, which people are you going to ask in order to understand how to approach that part. So this, this kind of skill of not being afraid of new problems, I guess it is really valuable in the data science field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just came up in my mind to compare that to like a criminal case. So they ask you basically not to solve the murder mystery, which is maybe not even solvable based on the evidence that is there, but they want to see how you would behave as a detective and how you would approach the topic and what steps you would take. And, I think that is, as you said, so best way that you come out of like a studies or a boot camp is not to learn everything by heart and have the feeling you know everything by heart, but having developed a certain kind of critical problem, like solving a skill set and like methodology of how to approach problems and situations. That is actually what you should learn in these kind of trainings and programs, and not as mentioned, they may ask you to explain certain algorithms, and that is something that you can really learn for, that you can train, and nobody is expecting you to know everything by heart once you started with the job, yes, but you should also have developed this kind of critical thinking, problem solving attitude, and so on, and that's what I want to test as well.
Yeah, definitely, because as a data scientist, you would always find yourself in total different fields. That this project perhaps is in computer vision, and the next one in 12 months is going to be about, I don't know, about time series or something like that. And like, for example, right now I'm having a totally different project, so I have to somehow match the prompts with the images of the database. And I have never done that before, and I have to write down for that an algorithm. So, but this not kind of makes me feel bad in that situation, because I know how to handle kind of unknown cases and how to approach these tasks.
Yes, and this like topic of resilience and not being frustrated easily by when challenges come up and when things seem like really bad at a point and unsolvable at a point, and then not being frustrated, but actually being motivated to push through and to like go into the task and just go deeper and bite into it and just don't let loose. This is what I think is really important to have as a skill set, but also a little bit as a personality trait, to become a successful data scientist. And a part of that, like, in data science, it's such a fastly developing field, so you will always stand for challenges that are maybe unknown to you before.
Definitely.
And not being afraid for this unknown, but basically like going then into that situation. This is the kind of behavior that you should also display as part of your job interview.
Yeah, and I think it is really valuable knowledge, because this is something that I remember myself in the university. This is something nobody really told us about. We've been always told that you just need to know mathematics behind that and you will be totally fine. But this kind of adaptability, this is something totally different that you will kind of create as a skill by yourself while working on different cases.
Yeah, and I think these tips, they are so helpful. They are really, really valuable, and still, every job interview is different. It really depends on the, say, unique mixture and combination of who is in the interview panel, you as the candidate. Like sometimes it's even, I mean, it's still like to some level up to your daily performance. How well do you feel on the day? Are you, maybe a little bit sick or having a cold, maybe not feeling at your best, right? This can also sometimes happen. And just to show also, don't be frustrated after an interview if it didn't felt like it was going super well. there are definitely panels of interviewers who should rather play poker because they have such good poker faces. They won't let on anything. Yeah. And then you come out of this interview and you're like, oh man, this was really not going well. And at the end you get a job offer because you fully convinced them and they just didn't let it on and didn't show it. And of course, it can also sometimes go into the other direction. You're like going out and you feel like on the top of the world.
Yes.
And you don't get the offer. And in that case, I think also like, it's okay to be sad for a little bit time, but then you have to go, get up and continue.
Again, yes.
And also reach out and say, hey, have you any kind of feedback of what I could have done differently? Or what kind of gaps have you identified that I should work on? And really also take this as another opportunity to learn from as well.
Yep, for sure. So I guess we have covered the technical part. What do you think about soft skills? Because they are also kind of really important if you would love to go into the data science field, because you will never find yourself just working with data scientists in Python and not go into the to the business world outside of this technical comfort zone. So what do you think about that part?
Yeah, I think we kind of highlight this in a lot of our episodes, and in my opinion, rightly so, because this is I think from a university side, sometimes highly neglected. Also in some kinds of these boot camps, they just try to teach you all there is to the most popular algorithms and frameworks to use and so on. And you come out and you have all of this technical stuff down. But, unless you have a prior career or a substantial amount of work experience, you might feel heavily overwhelmed going into the interviews, as well as maybe if you scored a job, handling real world situations like that. And I think soft skill set like resilience, critical thinking, skills of communication, which we really stress a lot. This is also what I would expect to see as part of the interview process. Definitely. And that already begins not just in the interview itself, but is that candidate actually reacting to emails, to phone calls in a timely manner? And do you display a professional behavior in your style of communication? And again, it's not about getting every situation perfect, but displaying a certain potential and with room to grow. That's always okay, right? But especially if it's not a super junior or an entry level position, you'd expect that person to be more or less readily able to fight data science problems after a little bit of onboarding into the maybe technical landscape of that company. And for me, that is definitely including a certain level of soft skills.
Yeah. And also remember that you might not always be in a team of data scientists. You might have a manager who is not a technical person. And this is something, I guess, explicitly important to be able to really use your communication skills in order to, to talk about a data science, to talk about a proposed solutions, how would benefit. So everything what you've just mentioned, it's so much important, especially if you're going to work with the business side and not only with the technical ones.
Yeah, and that's really to understand. If you in the end want to have a positive impact on the business, that is just also including not just getting the technical part right, but also then also being able to explain it to stakeholders, being able to also to some level sell ideas to management and managing up. Exactly, as you said, I think everyone who has this kind of technical background loves to have also team leads who have a technical education, makes a lot of things easier. But that's not always the case. And I've seen very, very successful teams having, say, kind of business leads or managers coming really solely from the business side. And then they've kind of managed from both parties' ends to effectively communicate with each other. And that sometimes can be the more successful combination than having a manager, a future, a former data scientist, who actually doesn't want to be a people lead.
Yeah.
That is not the kind of also not like, you know, the best kind of situation. So I'd rather have like a cool team and a business manager, and like both parties can effectively communicate and manage each other as well. So yeah, and also that's important to say, right? Don't just make data scientists, developers into team leads if they don't also display the skill set of having the soft skills. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a natural kind of career advancement. So don't just think because, okay, you now have scored this position that, you know, all problems are solved.
Yeah. Definitely. Have you ever heard about the book which is called Surrounded by Idiots?
I don't think so.
That, I guess this is like one of my best tips for people that are looking for how to manage people, how to sell people, how to give feedback. So I guess it is like one of the best sellers.
It has a provocative title at least.
Yes, and that is why
it sounds interesting.
And that is why I guess it is like one of the best sellers. So pretty much it's based on the psychology methods, which is like color codes of the people. It's not red, blue, green, and yellow.
Green, yes.
Yeah. And pretty much this guy, it is his main job to talk about those colors and to show people who is who kind of in the society, and to then give you a lot of tips how you can impact that with another person. And I think this is pretty interesting because like this is what I heard a lot from the data scientists who I recommended to read that book. They were like, Kate is like a massive kind of cheat sheet how you can manage people.
Interesting. So, yeah. Maybe this kind of system does help for some people to you know, better manage interactions, and helps them to just structure that a little bit. It sounds quite interesting. I'm going to take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. And it's also, I know that is also like the audiobook is available in German and in English language. So yeah, definitely feel free to do that.
I can imagine it definitely also helps in an interview situation to also figure out a little bit like what kind of role each interviewer is taking, you know, is taking up. Because it's mostly, at least the interviews that I've seen and that I have been reported to me, it's usually not a one-on-one, at least not at the early stages. You usually have like more than one interviewer. And hopefully also quite, say, diverse range of interviewers, because I mean, you also should get a little bit of glimpse about the company itself. So as again, the interview is as much for the company to vet you as a candidate as it is for you as a candidate to vet the company. So if I would lead like a data science organization, I would try to make sure to also display the range of skill sets and personalities that I have in the organization as part of the interview panels. And I think that also could greatly, you know, impact and convince candidates to also join a company or not, based on also the interactions presented in the interview.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And this is, I guess, a pretty smart tip to understand a little bit who is who in the interview. For you, or
who are you dealing with exactly?
Yeah, definitely. And also, if you would love to work with these people later, also pretty important.
Yes, and this doesn't mean that you're actually going to work with the interviewers itself later, but of course, it's kind of a little bit of a, it shows a signal, and also, of course, it displays the kind of culture as part of the company, seeing also how well interviews are prepared. If you have the feeling there's a certain structure to it, maybe, as mentioned, they give you like a certain case to talk through, to explain. That also shows a level of I would say, appreciation from the company side to really try to structure the interviews well, and to give you things to work with and tasks to work with. Imagine you'd come into an interview and like the interviewers just lying back and just say, explain, Mrs. Nazarova, explain me, how have you been ending up in this seat and what you're doing all day? And that's not a great look and feel.
I have
to
immediately
the company.
like this bad feeling like rising my chest.
Yes. Nope, not coming to Yasmin Corporation. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So imagine you've now survived the interview process. We've mentioned in the beginning, we also wanted to give a little bit of insight. What are things and activities that you can do on a continuous level to prepare and to be all-time prepared, for the next interview? So, Kate, do you have any kind of advice on this side of continuous activities?
Yeah, definitely. So I will just tell you my personal challenge right now, and then I will go to the different activities. So currently, what I'm struggling with a lot is that, as you said, that data science field is so fast-paced field, and that is why sometimes you don't have 24 hours in a day. It's just not enough for you in order to catch up. And for me, that is honestly a personal challenge that usually people just come over and ask out of sudden that, Kate, have you heard about that? Or for example, as you have just asked me a couple of days ago, okay, have you heard what just OpenAI created with the prompting the videos? I didn't know about that. So that is why I would say my wish right now is firstly to find kind of newsletters or communities where I can all the time update myself, so they will do this job for me, and my task is just to read it out. This is the one thing. The second part is that always have your LinkedIn page updated. So you should not forget about your LinkedIn page. So even though that you will need to then send out the actual CV, LinkedIn page is like your profile. It is like what expert you are in there. And the third part is all the time being in the communities, because this is something that you can really benefit out of this. And sometimes communities, they can host virtual events or even offline events. You can go to lunch, to the dinner with them. And this kind of discussion with data scientists, from different parts, from different companies and fields, I guess this is something really beneficial for your personal growth.
And, sometimes then the answer comes up, there's just no community event in my closer vicinity where I live. And you know what I reply usually to that? Even better. So you can get started in organizing this. So you're not just a participant. You're going to be the organizer. And what does, if that is a thriving community and you started that, ain't nothing better than this. So for me, that tops participation, right? And yes, show that you are kind of taking initiative. And as mentioned, of course, there's also many virtual events, of course, in our field. And I think it's all about also regarding the tip of newsletters. I love that. I personally also follow a couple of different newsletters ranging from software engineering to then data science. And I think that's all about for working smarter, not harder. On this side, you don't always have to start everything yourself from scratch like a community, right? So it's also fully okay in certain areas to just get some help, use some tooling, and use the kind of offers of a newsletter. There are great ones outside, and we're also gonna list a couple of them in the show notes. And highlighting again, networking, virtually as well as in real life. Yes, it has so much power, and it's really also sometimes not opportunities are just presented also along the way, maybe to you that you wouldn't have thought of a couple of weeks or months ago, and that can really come with a good network as well.
Yeah. And what about developing? What do you think? So you have participated in a lot of communities, so you have that critical mass of data scientists in your, let's say, circle.
In your club.
In your club, yeah, that is even better. So what about the learning and development? I know that we've talked about that a lot, and we even have different episodes on that part, but maybe just in a nutshell from your side.
Oh, the nutshell is very small because it's just you have to continuously learn and develop yourself as a person, but also as a data scientist from the skill set side. There's different ways to do it, but I can there's one thing for certain: it just never stops.
Yeah,
you've been, maybe if you're hearing our New Year's episode, beginning of the year, you've seen that there are many kind of also learning goals involved from both Kate and my side. And that's the reality of working in data science. And you need to be continuously upskilling, getting to know the different new toolings, new frameworks. Oh, there's a new open source thing popping up. And if you're not feeling comfortable with it, either you have to learn to get comfortable with it, or maybe data science, like, that's kind of the harsh truth, is not the field which is meant for you. And that's also okay. But you really need to like prioritize also your personal development. And if you have the feeling as part of your company position, it's not really providing the necessary challenges, you may need to like do that on the side also as part of your personal hours, or you need to find like a position where you maybe feel more challenged, or you're more exposed to also the latest tooling and stuff around. Yes, but and a part of it is also listening to a great podcast just like Diaries of a Data Scientist. So if you like what you're doing, what we are doing here, provide a comment, give us a review on Spotify, for example, on Apple Podcasts. Tell us what you want to hear as part of this podcast, because this is also a great learning opportunity for you.
Definitely. And for us as well, I guess. And if you would have any questions, guys, can you please just write it down, or like in
leave
the
us a voice message on Spotify.
Oh yeah, definitely. Right now we have this option enabled, and that also you can always reach out to us, and I guess in DMs over LinkedIn. So this is totally fine. Thank you so much for your listening today and your attention. It was Diaries of a Data Scientist. As Yasmin just nicely explained, please give us a review, leave us a comment, or even a voice message. We'll be really happy to hear that from your side. And if you would have any questions, feel free to reach us out, and see you again in 2 weeks. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
This was Diaries of a Data Scientist by Yasmin and Kate. And if you enjoyed the episode, remember to check out our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn pages for more engaging content from the data science world. Thank you for today, and seeing you in the comments.